When primitive organisms first appeared on our planet, the Earth already began to create a balance of life. The very first animals, according to scientists, appeared in the ocean about 500 million years ago. And it took a long time, about 160 million, before in the course of evolution, living beings began to come to land. What made them come out of the ocean and begin to adapt to the land lifestyle? The ocean became smaller over time. Islands appeared, which later turned into huge continents, and there were more and more living creatures in the ocean. As a result, overpopulation gradually began, and many creatures, having no legs or paws for movement, were forced to crawl out onto land and adapt to a land lifestyle for a long time. For animals, having no limbs to move on the ground, adaptation took an excruciatingly long time. As invalids, they moved on the moist soil of the nearby coast. Evolution, or more simply, the transformation of a marine animal into a land animal, took place slowly, hundreds of thousands of years. Gradually, the fins turned into legs, but the animals continued to live both on land and in their native water element. Being born in water, they, growing up, moved to land, and later scientists called them amphibians. Each of us is familiar with the modern descendants of those first amphibians. These are crocodiles, frogs, and other representatives of amphibian fauna. Being born in the water, they only then get acquainted with the land. This stage of evolution was even slower. Millions of years, but inexorably. Many amphibians, leaving the water element, stubbornly moved deeper into the earthly kingdom, remaining on land for longer and longer. And in the end, they left their native element as the place of origin and the place of their native home. New generations have already been born on land, and for them, the ocean has become a strange place. Gradually, various types of lizards began to appear, living in the water element, living on Earth, and those who became the master of the sky. At the onset of the Jurassic period, dinosaurs were already clearly formed and divided into two camps: herbivores and predators. The predators had a keen sense of smell and hearing, allowing them to quickly find prey, as well as incredible strength, speed, reaction, and endurance to fight prey. Nature has endowed some herbivores with armor, an increased sense of danger, camouflage, poisons, colors that scare away enemies, as well as gigantic dimensions. Nature has created a balance of different life forms, which has been established on Earth for millions of years. So, let's focus on the two most popular species of the ancient era, in which a huge number of species of ancient lizards appeared: Jurassic and Cretaceous periods. It was then that predators and herbivores dominated in a wide variety at the very peak. According to the law of nature, herbivores were the main food of carnivores. But seemingly harmless herbivorous lizards very often rebuffed their abusers. Let's do a little analysis on the example of some of them. Tyrannosaurus Rex is the king of Cretaceous dinosaurs. He had no equal on the battlefield. However, with his gigantic strength and developed intelligence, T-Rex could not always defeat a lizard like Triceratops. Triceratops, like his nemesis T-Rex, is an iconic dinosaur. These two lizards have always competed with each other, and this is not fiction, but a reliable fact. T-Rex needed a huge amount of meat, and Triceratops had 14 tons of selected dinosaur meat. And the proof that these two lizards were inseparable enemies says that they lived simultaneously among the lakes and rivers of Hell Creek, and were the two most common species. Triceratops makes up about 40% of the Hell Creek dinosaur fossil. Tyrannosaurus is in second place, with about 25%. The fights of the T-Rex and Triceratops were frequent, but there were few victories of the predator over herbivores. Somewhere 50-50, because the Triceratops, although much smaller than the predator, had massive armor, a difficult-to-penetrate shell, and deadly horns, which often caused huge damage to the health of the T-Rex. Zavroposeidon. The average length is 25 to 27 meters, of which 12 meters were on the neck. A walking skyscraper. There was practically no threat of an adult from predators, but the little Zavroposeidon had a hard time. They were completely defenseless against absolutely any predator. Therefore, the main task of the young individuals was to constantly eat in order to grow faster. The more Zavroposeidon became, the fewer enemies he had. Deinonychus, one of the fastest predators of the Cretaceous period, reached up to 3.5 meters in length. These lizards hunted in a group. The most famous feature of Deinonychus is the sickle-shaped claw on the second toe of each foot. The claw was mobile and incredibly dangerous as a sharp knife. It was these claws that served as a formidable weapon for these predators. The prey of the Deinonychus themselves became small zephyrosaurs and large ornithopods. Tyrannosaurus, Hadrosaurus. At the same time, there were also ankylosaurs zavropelts, on which Deinonychus could hunt in packs. The diet was also replenished by young sauroposeidons. It is difficult to say which of these fights usually came out the winner, since the Deinonychus hunted in a pack and, of course, when attacking a very large animal, some inexperienced Deinonychus died. So here you can put a mark of 70 to 30 in favor of the predator. Ankylosaurus. A resident of the late Cretaceous period is a vegetarian. Ankylosaurus is called an armored tank among ancient lizards. But the armor only protected the upper torso. The lower part was completely defenseless. Our contemporaries' turtles have approximately the same structure. Therefore, the predators of the Cretaceous period, as well as the turtle, tried to turn the Ankylosaurus on its back. But even for such kings of the food chain, as T-Rex and Spinosaurus, it was quite difficult to do this, because this representative of herbivores weighed about 6 tons. Plus, Ankylosaurus had quite a formidable weapon. At the end of the tail, there is an impressive growth of a mace, with which the lizard could easily break not only the bones of the predator, but also seriously damage the internal organs of the offender. Therefore, in the confrontation of herbivores and predators, we put a 50-50 mark. A draw. A pair of sorrels is a representative of herbivores. He could move on both 4 and 2 legs. These herbivores kept to the herd and had their own language of communication. The crest on the head, as one of the hypotheses says, amplified sound messages between individuals. But there is also an opinion that low-frequency infrasound can take the form of protection. If an entire flock simultaneously made this sound in one direction, for example, in the direction of a threat to life, then this wave could knock any predator off its feet or affect its brain and confuse it. Therefore, in the confrontation, we put a 50-50 estimate with gradual evolution. Some herbivores acquired more and more sophisticated defense, and predators, due to their intellectual advantage, became more and more intelligent and used more and more cunning tactical abilities to attack the victim. If you like the issue, like it, leave comments, click on the bells to be aware of new and interesting releases from the Real Unreal channel.